Welcome to Bridging Generations, an Age UK Norwich podcast, brought to you by the communities team at Age UK Norwich and Norwich Together, connecting younger and older people to discuss a range of different topics and themes and to share their experiences. Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Age UK Norwich Bridging Generations podcast. My name's Ed and I'm delighted to be here with a member of the Age UK Norwich community. And this week we're going to be just discussing, firstly, the theme of this week, the communities in the UK and how they've changed and what could be done to improve them further. And also getting to know our Age UK Norwich community member here. So just to start off, how's it going? How are things coming out of lockdown, and how has it been being part of that Norwich community in the last two years especially?
Oh, you're talking about the COVID-19, is it?
COVID-19, yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, for me, it has been, I've been okay. I've been managing well, I think, yeah. I've been managing well because I was still able to do my work, but of course online. And believe it or not, I'm a telephone befriender for HUK.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I've been in contact with 2 service users. So that keeps me, well, they tell me about their stories and I tell them about my stories too, So, yep. So I think overall it's fine. And but during COVID-19, I was still doing my weekly shopping.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was until 2016 a full-time lecturer at your university.
Really?
And
I left. I joined. Sorry, a year after you left, so just missed you there.
Oh, lucky you then. So, you started in 2017? 17, all right. Yeah, I retired in 2016. But then when I have to be honest, I wanted to remain, I suppose, still as a practitioner and also a lecturer, but in a slightly different capacity. So then I applied to work as a specialist mentor for students in higher education, you see. And so initially, the students I see were from the university,
Yeah. Are you enjoying that role now?
Of course. Yes. Well, of course, the students I see are slightly different from you. I assume so, yeah, because the students I see usually have a range of additional learning needs, So which means that sometimes academically they are fine, but sometimes they have other issues which have an impact on their performance. So I work with those students, yeah.
Well, it sounds like to me that, lockdown hasn't been too rough on you.
No, actually, I suppose it's the daily. I would say that, of course, you initially you went out less, but I still but because I live in near the university, I was still able to go out, for a walk or whatever.
And I think that transitions well. So, sort of my next question is, how does it feel to be part of the community in Norwich? And with your neighbours and things like that, do you are you quite communal? Do you feel like where you live, or do you like there's a lot of people speaking to each other, supporting each other?
Well, actually, I suppose the interesting thing was that you remember at one stage people were, I think it was on Monday at 8 o'clock, I think, when people went out to clap their hands, I think it was Monday, 8 o'clock. Yeah. So actually that, in a funny way, that actually helps the community to come out from their homes,
Yeah. Seeing people you hadn't seen before.
Yeah, but we do see them. Yeah. But suddenly we came out all more or less at the same time,
Yeah.
Yeah, because normally sometimes people go out in the morning and then they don't come back until the evening, and vice versa. So, but 8 o'clock is like everybody was out clapping and
yeah. Is that was the clap for the NHS?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and I think that was. In fact, the funny thing is that one of my students, ex-graduate, she wrote a letter. She sent an email to me saying, "Oh, do I need help?" You know.
Oh.
Which in a way I thought, oh my gosh, must be so old that she thought I needed help, by the way, you know. But then it was kind of she was so she wrote that. But I suppose maybe because at that time myself and her, we were writing a book, you see, about something totally different, nothing to do with COVID, mind you. So maybe she also got to know me very well, and then so she took the courage of sending an email. Oh, by the way, she said, "Do you need any help with your shopping?" She said to me, you know. I said,
and you didn't take her up on the offer?
No.
Well, you've given us a nice sort of understanding of how it was for you during lockdown. Do you think generally that communities are quite important? Do you value them quite highly?
For me, I've always valued community life even before COVID, by the way, you know?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I think it's important for all of us to know each other. Maybe even just to say hello to somebody is enough, really, you know? Hello and smile, and then gradually, how are you? It takes time, by the way, to get how are you, etc. The initial one is hello, smile. But it's really good if you have a dog, by the way. If you take your dog out
I don't have one. Do you have a dog?
No, I don't have. But when I go to the university, like, not at the moment, because when I go into the library to do some work there, in the morning, it's really good because I'm the only one without any dog, you know, but the others are out with dog. So they always look at me and say, "Oh my God, what is this fellow trying to do so early in the morning?" So I say, I'm going to work. And then, but it's interesting when you have a dog, there's lots of interaction, you know?
Yeah.
People will always stop and say hello. Sometimes they're more interested in the dogs rather than the human beings, mind you. But having said that, it's really good because people do interact, you see, you know? Yeah, and also if you have babies, if you have a baby, man, I'm not saying you should have a baby, by the way, but if you have babies too, it's another one, you know, lots of interaction. People will stop, hello, how are you? And looking at the baby too, you know, so interaction.
Yeah, those sort of bring people together, don't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you feel like as the years go on, communities are getting stronger, or they're getting, I'll just use the opposite term, weaker, and maybe people are living more individualistic lifestyles where maybe they're not so reliant on that next door neighbor and they're, you know, more self-dependent?
I think it depends on where you live, because where I'm not living in a village, by the way, yeah, but I live near the university. So I suppose I think the community spirit is always there, but I suppose in where I live, the people tend to stay here for a while, by the way, you know, they don't move a lot. So which means that gradually you get to know quite a lot of people here, you know. So which means the community spirit is there, you know.
Yeah.
So if you need help, somebody will offer you help, by the way, you know. But because sometimes it's important for you to ask for help, because sometimes it's very difficult to know whether you can offer help or not, you know. Yeah, because like the student I was telling you, because when she offered help, initially she wasn't too sure whether she should offer help or not, you know, because she thought, I'm okay. But then she said, oh, well, because I know you well, because we were writing a book at that time. So she took the courage of asking. So sometimes it's a difficult one to ask, because some people do not want people to offer help, isn't it? Because it's like, oh my gosh, you become dependent or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's probably something people struggle with, is the accepting the fact that they have been offered help, and they may at times need that sort of help from other people within their communities.
Yes. Yeah, because you see, just talking slight digression here, which I normally do, because I remember when they started introducing the COVID vaccine, I remember asking this person, one of the persons I normally I meet on the way to the university, I said to her, "Oh, when are you going to get your vaccine?" You see? And her response was, she said, "I'm not 80 years old yet," she said. And because the last time I was only for 80 years old. I said, "Oh my gosh." I said, "Oh, no, I don't mean whether you're 80 or not, 80 years old." I said to them, "If I'm offered now, I will go now." I said, what I mean? So it's amazing how sometimes, gives the wrong message. And I know her well, by the way, Yeah. But for that one, I'm not 80 years old, man. But
you had all the good intentions. You had all the good intentions.
Yeah.
And also, I'll just move on to something else about communities. Do you think their community life and how it is really dictated, is that dependent on the living sort of area, how small the community is, as you mentioned there, talking about people living in close, villages, or is it more affected on, the quality of life within that community, or just the surroundings, or the particular type of person and the culture within those communities? There's a lot of factors that come into play into creating a community and creating that real unison.
I suppose sometimes, because where I live it's not a village, man. It's, as I say, quite near university. I suppose maybe I'm just trying to work out, maybe, because, for example, I go for walks in the afternoon, in the evening, in the local park. So I meet a group of people there. But when I go to the supermarket, the nearby one, I meet another group of people. So I suppose what I'm just trying to say is that I suppose, yeah, so it's difficult to work out because because all these people live in the same area, you see, but then I see them in different locations, For example, the people I see at the park, I don't see them in the supermarket, for example, because they shop somewhere else. But somehow, I suppose because we are united, because we live in the same area. I'm not too sure whether I'm making sense or not.
No, you do. So you're saying that the people that live near you, you don't necessarily spend time with them in the surrounding areas where you live. It could be other places, maybe further out, or different places.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But the thing, I suppose I'm not a drinker. I don't drink, by the way. Yeah, I know. I've said this once to a group of students, and they become very suspicious. They became very suspicious, and they said to me, "Oh, I wonder whether you are actually an alcoholic, but you don't." You deny the fact that you're an alcoholic. I said, "No, I don't drink at all." And in fact, I remember when I was, nothing to do with your question, mind you, but I remember when I was teaching in one of the European countries, the students over there, they have classes on Saturday, you see. So Monday to Saturday. So what they were trying to do for me, because I was doing some sessions there over 2 weeks, they didn't want the session to be held on Saturday. They wanted me to cancel it, but they didn't have the courage to tell me. So they actually they had a party for me on Friday, and they brought lots of drinks.
Oh, I see what they're trying to do.
But then they suddenly realized that I don't drink, you see.
Oh, plan backfired.
So they make a confession the next day. Yeah, sorry. Coming back to this drinking, I'm a teetotaler, by the way. I remember going to, the pubs are actually quite good, the pubs, because in a way, I think maybe, it attracts the community, It attracts the community. So actually the community the people meet up, yeah. I suppose, like, for example, where I live, we have a supermarket, 2 pubs, and yes, so actually, and you also meet some of the people there, by the way, So they're actually quite, I think, and of course nowadays we don't have, it's a local shop. Sometimes there is a shop at the end of the road. So, but again, I think when I first came to Norfolk, the shop was also a central place for people to meet up,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's quite small, cozy. This was before COVID, mind you, so you could be together in a big group. But so good place. Post office, pubs. I'm a teetotaler, by the way. And then the supermarkets are good places,
And most of those, you're not, are they just you bump into people, or are you meeting up with them specifically at those places?
More by accident, really,
It's like a nice surprise.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But then I suppose because I belong to the I suppose, you belong to different kind of groups. And then so as a group, sometimes you meet up too, meet up more for coffee or whatever. And also, well, until before COVID, because I belong to the staff association at your university. And not only your university, because you don't own the university, do you? No, that's right. But at your university, so that's quite, before COVID, we used to meet up once a month, you see, for reading group, and that's quite useful one. And in fact, people who work at the university, most of them live around this area anyway, near, because it's local, isn't it? It's a good area, easy to get to the university, yeah. So that's also quite a good place because you meet up. I know it's a book club, but I usually go there for eating cakes, by the way, rather than the reading. But I told them the truth. I said, that's the reason why I'm here. First cake and then the book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you just touched on there, like what places and opportunities there are for people to maybe meet up. And in Norwich and in communities in general, what would you say are the 3 most important aspects when it comes to creating a successful community for you?
I suppose it's something, I think something like the pubs or coffee, because where I live, we have 2 pubs. One is more, I suppose one is more a community one, where they have lots of community, well, before COVID anyway, they have lots of things going on there apart from the drinking and the eating money, So I suppose those kind of facilities are useful because it attracts one group of people. I suppose supermarkets with eating areas, because when you go to supermarket, you wouldn't be lingering around, would you?
Yeah.
Especially now with COVID. But if they have a coffee area or a little restaurant, then that's quite a good place to sit down. So something like that. That's one. The other one is actually something like the local villages, because where I live, they have quite a lot of groups. Well, before COVID anyway, they have quite a lot of groups. For example, we have a group for people with dementia here, And well, before COVID, I used to be one of the volunteers. Well, I hope I was a useful volunteer. Goodness knows, whether I was a useful one or not.
I'm sure you were.
Might disown, no. It creates problem. But I was a volunteer there once a month, and that was a quite good group because then you meet a different group of people,
Yeah. So it's, as you were saying, it's sort of like each place has its own groups of people, and it's finding those opportunities where those specific groups then mix together and they're all interconnected.
And then the other areas, like something to do with like sports club or something like that, because like near the university, you have Eaton Park, don't you?
Yeah.
Eaton Park. And that's quite a good one because they have a lot of things going on there, You can just go for a walk, you play games, whatever there, So and that's quite a good place to meet up. And there's also quite a nice area for eating there, and drinking coffee, mind you.
Yeah,
no alcohol. You can see my paranoia about drinking now. Yes, so those things are I suppose what I think is important is being able to sit down, really, you know, because if you wonder about it, it's a bit difficult to walk, man. To walk. If you wonder about if you walk, it's difficult to communicate, by the way, you know.
Yeah.
But if you can sit down, have a cup of coffee, or just sitting down, it's quite a good place. So the Eaton Park is quite a good one, because where there's a big lake there, well, not lake, mind you, but where you can do your boating, that you can there are boats there. But in Eaton Park, there's a central area where you have a lots of chairs there. Have you been to Eaton Park?
Yeah.
Okay, for reading and studying then, is it?
Reading, studying, coffee, all the above.
Okay. And in the central area, where there are lots of, and that's quite a good place to sit down, you know?
Yeah. And also, I mean, for me personally at Eaton Park, I ran every Saturday. That was the ground where they'd host the Norwich Park Run.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I took part in that, you know, multiple times over my time in Norwich, and that was something I enjoyed. And there was hundreds of people turning up every Saturday morning, and that's just
that's right. Yeah.
Epitomizes the sort of community feel of what that park and what it can offer.
Yeah. So I think that something like the park is really good, Eaton Park, because you got lots of things going on there, you know?
Yeah. Is there any other things that you think are most important for a successful community, or you think you've lived in a community where it doesn't have to be anywhere in Norwich, but it's done something well to make it maybe be more unique, be more successful?
I suppose maybe because sometimes in villages, they always say some villages have one like the best village for flowers, growing flowers or whatever, you know. So maybe that's something like that, you know.
Yeah.
So then everybody can start growing flowers, although not too sure, because the problem. Well, I'm not must be pessimistic here, but the problem with the challenge, no problem, mind you. But the challenge with growing, sometimes the plants may not grow, mind you, you know. So what will happen is, you know, then your neighbors will say, "Oh my gosh." So, but something like for example, before COVID, you know, during COVID, I think in November, maybe December, there were some villages which actually really prepared in preparation for Christmas. I mean, maybe for the wrong reason, mind you, but still, they put on the lights and everything there, you know, like the best village with the Christmas decoration or whatever, you know. So maybe something like that brings the villages together. But I know it's only for once a year, but at some time, those kind of things, you have to prepare, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well in advance. It's not a matter of, tomorrow we'll put up the lights, but if it's a village spirit, then everybody has to get involved in preparation, and it takes months, you know.
Yeah, because people now they're identifying more with where they live, and that sort of maybe healthy competition made them feel more passionate about where they live and who can
that's right.
do the best Christmas lights.
Like Christmas lights, because so I used to live in London, you see.
Oh, did you? Whereabouts was that?
In Belsize Park.
Oh, right.
In Hampstead Heath, yeah. Nice. I live in a bed seat, by the way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might think I own one of those houses in Hampstead. No. I was a bed sitter, you know, in Belsize Park, yeah. But actually, that was actually, when you think of London, for example, you think, oh my gosh, it's so huge, impersonal, isn't it? But actually, where I live in Oak Village. It was really a nice village. In fact, that was totally my perspective of because I thought London is a huge city, but I didn't realize that, for example, within the communities, you actually have little communities, and they really support one another, you know. So when I live in Oak Village in Belsize Park, it was really nice, the village. So I lived there for many years before I moved to Norfolk. So even big cities, you can actually create communities too, you know.
Yeah, and I suppose, do you feel like it's more difficult with those big cities to create those those communities?
But initially I thought it was difficult, but actually once you get to know the place, you realize that where I live, yeah, it was actually, there were definitely like community spirit there. Maybe because it's called Oak Village. Mind you, it wasn't a village, mind you. It was in it was actually quite near Belsize Park underground station, mind you, But yet it was like a small village, in a way. Yeah, lots of supporting one another. Because when I had to leave my first bedsit, I had to move to the second one. So the landlady actually recommended the second landlady, So somehow they knew each other. This was before the internet, mind you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was through the word of mouth there.
Wasn't too long ago then.
Huh?
Wasn't too long ago then.
I think this was before your grandfather was born, all right?
So you've given some really great answers for what makes a successful community. What do you think communities could maybe look at to improving? And this could also be specific to Norwich or Norfolk.
I suppose maybe one way, because I'm just trying to work out in this where I live. They wanted to develop the playground, playground. So that was, I know it's taken quite a lot of time to raise the money, but I think that was quite useful because it's like the community raising money to purchase this merry-go-round. I'm not sure whether everybody wants it, mind you, but still.
Yeah. But
yeah. But it's really good because you actually feel, oh yeah, you're doing something useful here. Well, hopefully you're doing something useful towards the community. And then, so every year, for example, where I live, I forgot, where I live, they actually have an annual scarecrow. Do you know scarecrow?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it a competition or something, or is it?
Excuse me, there's no competition, by the way. Because if there's competition, there'll be fighting, isn't it? Yeah. Who wants to be the first one? I think initially they had competition, but then this year they decided not to have. And so people were the theme of it was to do with inventions, So some people were doing like scarecrows, etc. So that's actually the community community spirit in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and it was actually quite interesting. The number of people I've never seen walking around,
Events like that, bringing people out.
Yeah, to bring people out, a bit like the clapping hands, by the way, bring people out. Some people were walking around scarecrow to watch the scarecrows, and also at that time they were also doing it. They were doing opening the garage for sale, and that also gets people out and about, you see.
Yeah.
So in a way, you're trying to raise money. In fact, quite a number of them were raising money for local charities, really, So that was useful too. And I suppose the other one, coming back to the playground, is I suppose maybe like applying for funding, because that is also sometimes because that helps to, it's just, of course I know it'll be a group of people working to fill in the form, but it's also a community, isn't it? Oh my gosh, we try to raise money for whatever, and then we get it, especially from the local council or lottery funding sometimes, isn't it? That also sometimes helps to generate communal spirit there,
Yeah.
But you should tell Boris Johnson about this,
Yeah, well, that leads on to my next question, which was if you were a leader of the community or just a leader of the country, what would you maybe implement into communities for you personally, or for what other people you think would like and need in their communities?
I think I'll go for a sleep then, I think I will take a lot of medications to prevent me from getting anxiety, you know.
Yeah.
Anxious because I'm only joking, by the way, yeah. But the thing is that when you are a leader, that's a nightmare because whatever you do is wrong, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because one group will say you're wonderful, but the other group will say you're rubbish there. So I suppose I'm not too sure whether how old you were when David Cameron was the Prime Minister. The reason why I'm asking is because when he was the PM, he was encouraging this like community spirit, you know. He came up with some terms, you know, that people work together, etc. Actually, to be honest with you, to make it simple, I do not know the answer to your question. I know. I think I will speak to Donald Trump and see whether he can help me.
Oh, maybe he could.
You see? Because I just saw in the papers that he managed to raise about $100 million recently, you know?
Yeah.
Because he wants to come back to become the president. Difficult, isn't it? When you're I think, to be honest with you, I think if you're the leader, you need to, I think, because I'm not too sure whether you know that there is a kind of assessment which actually which gives you an indication. I mean, of course, not too sure whether it is validated, but it gives you a picture whether you're a leader, whether you're a supporter, whatever. You know, that I just cannot remember the name of the particular assessment. But when I completed it, I was more. I wasn't a team leader. Definitely not a team leader. So at least I know I'm not deemed to be one. By the way, you know. I know my strengths and my limitations, but I'm more support. I'm more a member who supports one another, who supports others. By the way, you know. So I don't think I can answer you that question. It's too frightening for me to answer that question. But if I become a leader, I will definitely work. I will have a group of sensible advisors. By the way.
Yeah.
And work together, yeah. And of course, you will ask the community what do they want.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the reality is that it's easy to ask what do they want, but in reality, it is a challenge because people have different needs, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you have to prioritize. Oh my gosh. Should I do this or should I do that? For example, like yesterday, there was the baby. Now she's a toddler now, but she received this injection, which cost over £1 million. You know, over £1 million. And I'm not saying that's wrong, by the way, yeah. But the interviewer was asking the mother. I said, what do you feel about it? You know, because this is the most expensive kind of treatment, you know. But for her, she said, as a mom and also the father was there, as parents, you want to do the best for your child, you know. So she knows that it's so much money, but she said in return, what she will do, she will raise awareness about that particular condition, you know. So there's a priority, isn't it? Should the money be given to this baby or be given to more research in dementia or whatever, isn't it? So it's so difficult to work out.
Yeah, it's sort of making those difficult choices.
Impossible. Very hard.
Examples like that also show evidence of the strength of communities and how no matter what, they'll come together and support someone who really needs it in a desperate time.
Yes. Because like the Olympic, you know, I do digress, my you know, but this is reality too, isn't it? That the one who she was cycling, well, not cycling, but BMX cyclist, you know, in Essex, and then she was lucky. She was doing, I think, crowdfunding, and then so much so that she was able to get the coach, and then she has got the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, there was also support from the community. I mean, not the local community, but it's the larger community, you know, because she needed a lot of money for the training. But she got it, didn't she?
Yeah, and as a community, they must feel so not only proud of what she achieved, getting BMX gold in Tokyo, but also proud of themselves in the fact that they facilitated that, really. Were part of the journey that maybe took her on her way.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's a nice time probably to go back to Norwich and just ask you, was there any sort of, when you moved to Norwich, was there anything that surprised you, or maybe things you took part in that you didn't think you would, or any aspects of the community that you found you didn't expect, whether it would be positive or negative?
I suppose, no, I think, to be honest with you, I think, because I live in London, and I also work in London, and then I was in Cheshire. I live and work there. I came to Norfolk. I would say it's the same. Yeah. I wouldn't say, of course, the accent is different, Yeah, the accent. But I would say, I suppose, or maybe Norfolk, because initially in the 80s, I think it was actually difficult to get in and out of Norfolk, by the way, The roads were small, there were roads, but there were no major roads there, So it took longer to get in and out, you see.
Yeah.
And in fact, interestingly, when I first came to Norfolk, I said to them, one of the questions I asked, by politely, mind you, I said something like, the road here is quite small, mind you, it's small. And the local person said to me, don't you think that's a good idea? And I said, I wasn't too sure what to say, And he said, that is why we don't have any major robberies here in Norfolk.
Because they can't get away quickly.
That's right. Think, well, it never occurred to me that, I suppose that makes sense, isn't it? Because it's all, because we don't have like two major motorways at that time,
Yeah.
So of course, when you have robbed something, it takes a while for you to. So I said to him, it's a good idea. Yeah, good idea. And I suppose, apart from that, no, I mean, I think in terms of people, they are everywhere is the same. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether in London, Cheshire, or Norfolk, is the same. You have got people who are always willing to help you. There are also people who are less willing to help you. It's the same, really,
I think that's probably a good note to end on. I've got to say thank you very much for speaking to us today. I've really enjoyed talking about but not only the Norwich community, but communities in general with you. And if you're listening to this and you've made it to the end, just like to say thank you for listening, and join us next time on the Bridging Generations podcast, where we'll be discussing more with other members of the Norwich community.